Howdy, my name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to be talking about Francis Collins and N.T. Wright, and something so cringy that I just had to share it with the class because I saw it, so now you have to. So that's kind of the inspiration for this video, but there's never not a good occasion to expose just the monster that is Francis Collins. Francis Collins is the founder of BioLogos, which is a theistic evolution organization. So he has a song promoting theistic evolution and its compatibility with Genesis, which is incompatible, but we'll get to that momentarily. But the big gist that I kind of want, or the big thing that I want to say up front is that Francis Collins' bad theology, his theological liberalism is inseparable from his wickedness in public service because in 2009 he was appointed by President Obama to be the head of the National Institutes of Health, and there he had a career of wickedness. He was very pro-abortion while there, very pro-transgenderism while there. And of course, he played a large role in the creation of and America's response to the coronavirus. And that's how wicked Francis Collins is and was. So a lot of people died because of policies that he did and his actions, and God will hold him to account for that. But we will expose him in the meantime as well. And then, and let's also point out the evangelical figures that promoted and supported Francis Collins, including Tim Keller, especially Ed Stetzer, and N.T. Wright, who we're going to talk about right now. So N.T. Wright is a theological liberal. He's not really an evangelical. His background is Church of England. He's most famous for New Perspectives of Paul, but at the same time, he's like wrong on every theological issue that I've really seen from him. Like he's a feminist, egalitarian, and also theistic evolutionist, but we've already kind of covered that, this is a theologically liberal crowd. They're not really evangelicals, but Francis Collins is hailed as an evangelical despite the fact that he does not believe in inerrancy because he's a theistic evolutionist. So we're going to dive into this cringy song, but first I want you to know Evangelical Dark Web is a Christian news gathering and commentary ministry. You can support our work over our Patreon-like system, linked in the description below. That gives you bonus access to bonus content. The content has increased, so you should sign up for the free Evangelical Dark Web newsletter. It gives you Christian news in your inbox each and every day. And the least you can do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, to the podcast if you are new. Now, cringe warning. I already said that this was cringy, but I saw it, so now you have to. Here is their Genesis song that they sang at a recent BioLogos event and was on the premiere. Looks like it was on the premiere YouTube channel. So here goes.
Genesis, earth and heaven in a cosmic kiss. Evolution must have been like this. Oh, I believe in Genesis.
DNA, shaping creatures from the dust and clay. Double helix in the Milky Way. Oh, Genesis meant DNA. How he made it all 14 billion years ago. Wisdom, grace, and love, for he spoke, and it was so.
Genesis, even Adam.
So just a quick pause. I don't know if you caught the first two verses there where they describe Genesis as depicting evolution. Obviously, this is not what's described in Genesis. Genesis talks about God making creatures according to their own kind. And the according to their own kind is language that preemptively debunks evolution from even being close to a thing, because Darwinian evolution teaches, especially evolution as a worldview, presupposes that animals change kinds. One animal turns into another animal through a gradual genetic process. This is obviously not true. So they describe DNA as being dust and clay, meaning the language that God is using in the Bible in Genesis is actually, DNA is the real dust and clay that God is using to make creation. And while DNA is obviously a role in that, in terms of Adam being created, the Bible is very clear on how Adam was created, but theistic evolutionists don't believe that that is how Adam was created. We'll get to that momentarily.
I'm in a world of bliss, in the paradise we all now miss. Oh, I believe in Genesis.
I will say I'm not offended by the musical choice, but Francis Collins can't sing worth crap. But N.T. Wright, much better singer.
In a trice, didn't listen to divine advice. Einstein wondered whether God plays dice. We're trapped within a world of vice. Why they had to fall, I don't know, it doesn't say. They did something wrong and we long for God's new day. Genesis. Royal priesthood in a holy bliss. New Jerusalem will be like this. Oh, I believe in Genesis.
Yes, the crowd surprisingly is happy to see that performance. And who can believe that? Like that. But anyway, they're there. This is Protestia on the tweet. I'm just using this tweet not only to give credit for sourcing this video. They made me watch it, so now you have to watch it. But it's a good summary of what they believe. Notably, Collins believes that humans evolved from groups of thousands of primates that existed 100,000 years ago, specifically saying that the concepts of Adam and Eve as literal first couple and ancestors of all humans does not fit the evidence. So again, this is theistic evolution has, I guess, three glaring problems because we can kind of dissect two of them into one new problem. So the creation of Adam, the creation of Eve, and the fall of man. Like these are the three problems that theistic evolution has when it comes to scripture. And that's what, obviously we already touched on the creatures according to their own kinds logic. That does not jive with evolution, but those are the three issues. Similarly, Wright believes that Adam and Eve were likely human-like creatures and proto-humans that lived up to 650,000 years ago, saying on his podcast, "It seems to me perfectly reasonable to suppose that God would say to one pair of proto-human hominids, whatever we're to call them, come with me, I've got a special purpose for you." So that, it seems to me, is a way of saying that if there were an original Adam and Eve, that would be what it is all about. So N.T. Wright just openly rejects a historical Adam and Eve. Like, even Tim Keller tried to split the baby in his writings. Like, a lot of times theistic evolutionists don't say what they actually believe, or at least Tim Keller did not really say what he positively believed. He just said, "Hey, I like this idea. This is plausible. This is biblically plausible," stuff like that. But he wouldn't say, "Hey, this is what I think." And but the idea of proto-humans, and I think this is where it goes off the rails, because if there are proto-humans that are given the image of God, they're not like, God breathed nostrils and clay and stuff like that. It doesn't fit the biblical narrative. It also really just doesn't really make sense, because then you have Adam and Eve, and what about the rest of the people that are not God breathed, that are not imago deified? What about them? Like, it doesn't make sense. This is really just I guess, a way to convince people that it's logical that people like Cain would have wives, because want to not bring up the incest answer, which is the more probable, for obvious reasons. But so that's one issue. And I think Tim Keller at least argues that, plausibly Adam could have been a proto-human, but Eve was still created from Adam. So he kind of tries to split the baby. But there you have N.T. Wright. That quote from him is him saying they were both uh, proto-humans. So none of them were really created by God directly. Like obviously indirectly, providence, stuff like that, but like directly created by God, as the Bible describes. So that's one. Those are the first two issues with evolution. Then the fall of man. If you believe that there were proto-humans that were pre-sin, like these are prelapsarian proto-humans, they would not. And oftentimes the theistic evolutionists believe that Adam and Eve and their children mated and whatever with the proto-humans and stuff. Maybe that might be their. Well, they probably wouldn't believe in a global flood anyway. But going back to the fall, they have very little leg to stand on in defending the fall of man and how it would actually, especially if you believe that people just naturally evolved and you don't believe in a historic Adam and Eve, then you would have zero basis for a fall of man. And then even if you wanted to split the baby, if you still have proto-humans, your basis for a fall of man kind of falls apart, because what about all those other proto-humans that are unfallen? So really the whole theistic evolutionist debate is about how far away from like these three things, the creation of Adam, the creation of Eve, and the fall of man, can we stray away from the biblical narrative and still have a coherent worldview. Maybe not coherent, but how far can they stray and I guess not lose audience? Like what's the optimal point of, we won't lose all the evangelicals, but we'll please the Reddit people? Like I guess that's the baby that they're trying to split. But it's not beyond notice that these people, N.T. Wright, again, history of being wrong on most theological issues, and certainly involved with Biologos, which put out the horrendous Biologos statement on encouraging Christians to jab themselves with poison. So again, Francis Collins, his public service, lauded by people like Tim Keller, but was ultimately evil in that. And I don't think that's disconnected from his horrendous theistic evolution theology. So anyway, always a good time to remind people of that. But that was some cringe for the class. Could have been worse cringe. I think his other song was way worse, but that one was pretty bad just lyrically, because those lyrics were bad and unbiblical, because they really don't believe in Genesis. They believe that Genesis is just poetry and not narrative prose, which it clearly is narrative. But they don't really believe in Genesis, but they have to sing a song about how they do believe in Genesis because they have to convince you. It's like the person that says, I'm a conservative. They have to say that because they have to convince you. So anyway, that's all I got for today. My name is Ray. If you like this kind of content, do also subscribe to the channel, to the podcast if you're new. Have a blessed day. Stay based. Christ is King. And we will catch you on the next one.